The scene then shifted to the Divine Guild headquarters, where Bai Yi was speaking with a man. Bai Yi declared that he did not need a team because one person was enough for him. He explained that he was not used to fighting conquest battles alongside other people. The man simply smiled before telling Bai Yi to stop making excuses and give it a try. He assured him that every member of the team was a capable warrior whom he had personally handpicked. He also pointed out that it was about time Bai Yi made some friends. With that, he urged Bai Yi to go, saying that once he arrived there, he would understand everything. Following the man's insistence, Bai Yi headed to the designated location. As he looked around, he wondered why he was being forced to join another team for a conquest battle. To his surprise, the place appeared completely empty. Suddenly, someone threw an object directly at Bai Yi. He reacted instantly and dodged it with ease. The object struck the ground behind him and exploded on impact. Moments later, a laughing figure stepped forward and identified Bai Yi, clearly recognizing him. Bai Yi immediately demanded to know the stranger's identity. As the encounter unfolded, the story smoothly shifted back in time to the morning of September 1st, 2105, at the Divine Weapon Academy in the Shenghe Nation. There, an instructor distributed energy detection suits to all the applicants and instructed everyone to head to the changing rooms to put them on. Bai Yi quietly looked at his own suit, while his friend excitedly announced that he had received suit number 025, proudly calling it his lucky number. As the two walked together, Bai Yi's friend mentioned that around 300 or 400 people had signed up for the academy that year. He explained that the opening qualification test would eliminate the vast majority of those applicants. The academy then explained the registration requirements for all participants. Only awakened individuals between the ages of 12 and 18, whose strength had reached B class, were eligible to register. Anyone meeting those requirements was allowed to apply. However, the Divine Weapon Academy accepted only 100 new students each year, while the actual number of applicants greatly exceeded that limit. Because of this, the academy had established a qualification test. Only those whose results ranked within the top 100 would officially earn admission. After the explanation ended, all of the candidates finished putting on their energy detection suits and prepared themselves for the examination. At that moment, applicant number 002, Molly from Shenghe Nation's Eastern Border Supreme Academy, who was a B-class mage, noticed Bai Yi. Happy to see him again after their previous meeting, she greeted him warmly and asked how he had been. Bai Yi completely ignored her. Seeing the interaction, Bai Yi's friend asked whether she was someone Bai Yi knew from the Shenghe Nation. Bai Yi calmly replied that they had only met once. After being ignored so coldly, Molly was left completely shocked. Soon afterward, Bai Yi's friend noticed the equipment distribution area and pointed it out. The academy then explained that it had taken into consideration that some students came from impoverished regions and might not have enough money to purchase their own equipment. To ensure fairness, the academy had established an equipment distribution point where students participating in the qualification test could receive basic equipment. This system was designed to reduce, at least to some extent, the gap between students from different social backgrounds. As everyone began selecting equipment, Bai Yi's friend picked up a weapon and observed that the weapons available there were only D-class at best. He wondered whether equipment of that quality would truly be sufficient for the qualification test. Just then, a disturbance broke out at the distribution area. A blonde-haired young man ordered a red-haired boy to immediately hand over a sword, claiming that he had chosen that weapon first. Molly was completely stunned the moment she laid eyes on the blonde-haired man. His appearance immediately triggered a sense of familiarity in her mind, as if she had seen him somewhere before. She stared at him for a moment, trying to recall exactly where she had encountered him. Bai Yi's friend quickly noticed Molly's unusual reaction and became curious. Seeing how shocked she looked, he turned toward her and asked who exactly she was talking about and why she seemed to recognize the blonde-haired man. At the same time, the situation on the other side was quickly becoming tense. John Qin's two friends were clearly unhappy with the blonde-haired man's attitude. They stepped forward and angrily confronted him, insisting that there had to be some kind of misunderstanding. According to them, John Qin had also taken an interest in the sword, so there was absolutely no reason for this man to think that the weapon belonged to him. The other friend immediately nodded in agreement and backed up his companion's words. In their minds, the matter was already settled. Since John Qin had his eyes on the sword, no one else had the right to take it. However, the blonde-haired man didn't seem the least bit concerned by their complaints. Instead, he calmly looked at the two men and asked them in a completely indifferent tone what exactly they wanted from him. Hearing his response, the two men couldn't help but laugh mockingly. They exchanged a look and immediately assumed that the blonde-haired man must be some ignorant country bumpkin who had come from a small and insignificant nation. They found it unbelievable that someone could actually stand in front of them and act as if he had never even heard the name John Qin before. To them, this was simply ridiculous. One of the men then stepped forward and arrogantly told the blonde-haired man to listen carefully. He wanted to make sure there was absolutely no misunderstanding about who they were dealing with. He proudly revealed that their young master was none other than John Qin, the eldest son of the prestigious Qin family. As soon as he mentioned the Qin family's name, his expression became even more arrogant. He explained that John Qin's father was the richest man in the entire Shanghai nation. The Qin family's influence and wealth were so enormous that ordinary people couldn't even begin to imagine their power. But that wasn't all. The man continued boasting that even members of the mighty divine clan had to show the Qin family a certain level of respect. In his eyes, this was more than enough proof that no ordinary person should ever dare to go against John Qin. Therefore, he confidently declared that anything John Qin took an interest in was practically as good as belonging to him. The sword was no exception. Since John Qin had already set his eyes on the blade, they believed that the blonde-haired man had no choice but to hand it over. With that thought in mind, one of the men arrogantly reached out his hand, intending to take the blonde-haired man's sword by force. However, before his hand could even get close, the blonde-haired man casually moved the sword out of his reach. His movements were so effortless and natural that it was almost as if he hadn't even considered the man's actions a threat. The blonde-haired man then looked at them with an indifferent expression and simply ordered them to get out of his way. His calm attitude immediately left the two men stunned. John Qin's friend, who had been acting arrogantly just moments ago, suddenly felt something completely different. The moment he sensed the terrifying aura surrounding the blonde-haired man, his expression changed dramatically. He could immediately tell that this man was far from ordinary. The overwhelming pressure radiating from him was enough to make John's friend feel deeply shocked. He hadn't expected that the man they had just dismissed as a country bumpkin could possess such a frightening presence. However, the blonde-haired man didn't seem interested in explaining himself or wasting any more time with them. After saying what he wanted to say, he simply turned around. Without even giving them another glance, he began walking away as if the entire confrontation had never happened. Seeing this, John's friend was instantly consumed by rage. His face turned ugly as he stared at the blonde-haired man's back, completely unable to understand what was going through the man's mind. Was this guy completely brainless? He couldn't believe what he was seeing. They had already clearly explained who John Qin was. They had told him about the Qin family's enormous wealth, their influence, and even the respect they received from the divine clan. Yet, despite hearing all of that, this blonde-haired man still dared to completely ignore them. In John's friend's eyes, the man's behavior was nothing short of pure arrogance. He simply couldn't understand how someone could remain so calm after being warned so clearly. It was as if the identity of John Qin and the terrifying influence of the Qin family meant absolutely nothing to him. And that realization only made John's friend even more furious. John's friend could only stare at John in complete disbelief. At that moment, John's anger reached its peak. His face turned red with rage as an overwhelming and energetic aura erupted from his body. He slowly drew out his blades before shouting that originally he had never even cared that much about the worthless blade. He continued by declaring that since someone was clinging to it so desperately, he would simply destroy it outright. The moment those words left his mouth, John charged straight toward the blonde man with incredible speed, intending to strike him down. Without showing the slightest fear, the blonde man calmly stared back at John. John then unleashed a full-powered attack with all of his strength. The blonde man immediately raised his sword to block the incoming slash, but the impact was simply too overwhelming. His sword shattered into pieces the instant it made contact with John's blade, leaving him completely shocked. A confident smirk spread across John's face as he roared that, as long as he, John Qin, was willing, he could destroy both the blade and its owner together. Without giving his opponent a moment to recover, John launched another devastating slash with even greater force. However, just as the attack was about to land, Bai Yi suddenly appeared between them. To everyone's absolute disbelief, Bai Yi caught John's devastating slash completely barehanded. The unbelievable sight left Bai Yi's friend, Molly, and every candidate present frozen in shock. John's friend was especially horrified as he realized that Bai Yi had actually caught John's slash with his bare hand. As everyone struggled to process what had just happened, the story naturally shifted to an earlier moment when Bai Yi had gone to meet his teammates. During that encounter, someone suddenly launched an attack at him. Instead of responding aggressively, Bai Yi calmly put away his weapon. The mysterious attacker was soon revealed to be none other than the blond man himself, Lang, the captain of the Divine Legion. With a smile on his face, Lang extended his hand toward Bai Yi for a handshake. He acknowledged Bai Yi's quick reaction before welcoming him to the Divine Legion and telling him that from that moment onward, they were teammates. The story then returned to the present. Bai Yi was still standing firmly between the two fighters, effortlessly holding John's slash with his bare hand. As he maintained his grip, his thoughts drifted back to Lang. He reflected that it had been a long time since he had first met his very first teammate in the Divine Legion, Lang. Meanwhile, Lang silently looked at Bai Yi with a face filled with surprise.